The Premier says she's cautiously optimistic about the state's latest COVID numbers after 2 local cases were detected overnight. On the second day of the 3-day lockdown, she's warned Queensland isn't out of the woods yet as health authorities deal with 5 separate outbreaks. It comes as the Health Minister asks for all hospital staff to be vaccinated. Here's state political reporter Rachel Rieger.
Long testing queues as Queenslanders came out in droves. Out of almost 30,000 COVID tests, 2 cases of local transmission were recorded in the past day.
Very encouraging news today. We're not out of the woods yet. We've still got another 24 hours to go.
One case is a close contact linked to the Brisbane Portuguese restaurant cluster who had been in quarantine. The other is a 37-year-old woman who worked at the Qatar Airline check-in counter at Brisbane International.
This lady in her 30s became symptomatic on the 27th of June, so that means her infectious period goes back to last Friday.
Some of the exposure sites listed include Officeworks at North Lakes, Coles at Marumba Downs and Anytime Fitness in Griffin.
Then she was with her colleagues from Menzies Aviation on the 26th and the 28th of June.
It's not yet known if she has the highly infectious Delta strain.
We'll just have to wait for another 24 hours to do another test on her to see if we can get more virus so that we can then sequence it.
Health authorities suspect the woman contracted the virus from an international flight crew.
Anyone who works at our international airport, Queensland Health will vaccinate, and it's really important they come forward.
No other close contacts linked to the 19-year-old casual receptionist at the Prince Charles Hospital have tested positive. Infectious disease physician Dr. Paul Griffin will lead the investigation into why she wasn't vaccinated.
Obviously that work will start immediately, looking at the systems and the processes for the decision making.
The Health Minister has written to the 5 Queensland hospitals that treat COVID patients and has asked why the mandatory vaccination group shouldn't be expanded to include all hospital staff.
We want to have a much broader look and a much broader definition of who is our 1A workers who are potentially at risk.
Let me save you the ink. The answer is yes. Should have been done months ago. Get on with it.
Queenslanders will have to wait until tomorrow to find out if the lockdown will lift. Rachel Rieger, ABC News, Brisbane.
Protesters refusing to comply with lockdown rules in Brisbane's CBD were threatened with arrest this morning after arguing no one can force them to don masks or to stay at home. Meantime, small business owners say this 4th shutdown is crippling at a cost of $100 million a day.
A small but vocal group of anti-lockdown activists refusing to mask up.
You are not legally allowed to ask me why I'm not wearing a mask,
and I'm
not actually going
under
to
the Disability Discrimination Act.
Threatened with arrest.
You have a medical exemption and you have no right to ask.
They left peacefully. Across the rest of Brisbane City, streets were deserted. While some major stores had end of financial year sales, there were few takers.
Our big guys can certainly afford to open, but for many of our small businesses, this is make or break.
Tourist-wise, even if the school holiday lockdown is lifted tomorrow,
we're seeing cancellations all the way through to August and September.
As people become more wary about the spread of the highly contagious Delta variant.
Across the entire state, though, we're looking at losses of anywhere between $10 to $45 million across this hotspot classification. Absolutely devastating.
These Melbourne retirees flew into Noosa.
Tuesday morning, and within about 3 hours of arriving, I think Noosa went into lockdown.
While these Queenslanders are spending their first holiday since COVID began, stuck in a Darwin Airbnb.
We've literally been allowed out for 1 hour each day.
They had picked the NT because it was supposedly virus-free.
We've just, unfortunately, hit some bad luck.
Back home, police remain out in force at the borders and at the beaches, warning people to do the right thing.
If we can't get compliance, on our beaches, we'll have no alternative but to work with councils and start putting some barricades and things up.
The clock is ticking down for restaurants.
Glad there's been some sort of positive momentum with these news of not many cases.
For what they hope is a big recovery weekend. Lexi Hamilton-Smith, ABC News.
Well, North Queensland residents are hopeful they'll emerge from lockdown tomorrow with no local cases so far linked to an infected Brisbane traveller. The 20 Australian Olympic swimmers and coaches who were potentially exposed have also returned negative results. It comes after record testing in Townsville and on Magnetic Island.
The rides are ready and sideshow alleys set up in the hope the Townsville show will go on.
When the lockdown finishes, we're ready to rock and roll. The lockdown finishes 6, we'll start at 7.
The city's been a ghost town since Tuesday night, but authorities are buoyed by another day of no community cases in the region.
I'm sure that if there is someone out there who is a carrier, hopefully we'll find them and ensure that they're in quarantine and we won't see a spread of COVID in our community.
Residents remain alert and angry.
Before you travel, you should get tested. And you have caused this heartache amongst a lot of people.
Testing centres have been bolstered after struggling to meet demand from local exposure sites.
We were at the markets last Sunday, so this is our third day trying.
More clinics have opened to deal with the backlog.
We saw a record day of people presenting for testing yesterday.
Authorities are still trying to clear all 2,500 people on Magnetic Island. Susan Nolan has been queuing for 3 days.
I've been here since 7:30 this morning. It's now 10:30, probably another hour and a half to go, and 120 people at least behind me.
We've increased again the numbers of staff that we've got doing swabbing on the island today, and we'll sustain that increased number of staff over the weekend as well.
Townsville's COVID scare has led to a surge in vaccination rates. The hospital's now delivering about 800 doses a day, and appointments are fully booked for the next few weeks. But further north, Indigenous communities fear the rollout has been too slow on Cape York.
We're dying young as it is right now, our people, and we can't afford anything like the COVID.
Neither can tourism businesses like Billabong Sanctuary, who are counting on a school holiday boost. Even the wildlife are feeling the stress.
They can pick up that we're all anxious. We're all extremely anxious about what's happening.
Lily Nothling, ABC News, Townsville.